Hey there Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. Okay, so in today's video we are going to be taking a look at the Chiron in the third house position. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the wound itself, followed by ways to heal. So looking at some practical tips and advice on how to heal, okay? However, before we do get started, if you would like to know more information all about your Chiron sign along with your Chiron house, as well as your Virgo house within the natal birth chart and the 6th house ruler within your birth chart, then I have created a Virgo season / archetype ebook. So I'm going to provide a link to the ebook in the description box below so that you can pick up your copy today. Alright, so with all those intros out of the way, Chiron in the third house. Let's do this. So something I have noticed with Chiron in the third house is, well, if we were to look at the third house, of course, as the house connected with communication, well, having Chiron here might suggest that you have this real difficulty with communicating, with being able to express yourself. For example, you might have felt like you were never listened to whenever you were younger, or you were never heard out the way that you wanted. It's almost like you had certain things to tell people and to share with people, but they just never got it. Maybe they would look at you as if to say, what are you even talking about? Are you sure? Even when it comes to decision making and everything else, it's like, well, no, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you want. You can't make the decision. We're going to make the decisions for you. Or there might have been this humiliation around your decision making or around how you would communicate. This could even be that there were possible problems and difficulties when it came to learning and how you would study. So looking at education, it just might have felt like what you wanted to say was not taken into consideration. And when you would go into your schooling system to learn, maybe you would be sitting in the class and you would be expressing what you thought of the topic or subject at hand, but perhaps classmates would giggle at you, or perhaps teachers would make you feel a bit isolated in front of the class. Or maybe if you didn't really perform to the same high degree or level as other children, maybe you were made to feel really stupid. Like, you know how in the olden days they used to have the dunce hat, the big cone hat, and kids would wear this thing, you know, and that would be the sign of this person is stupid, this person is a dunce, they don't know what they're talking about. And that is something that you might kind of feel inside or have been made to feel. Maybe you were one of the people within your class who learned how to actually speak later on. Perhaps there were other children that you would see and be like, oh, how did they know that word? How are they able to speak in that way and with such confidence and with such certainty? But also, why is it that these kids seem to get this, whereas I'm taking longer to understand it? So you might have been a child that took a little time to really speak, or you may take some time to really learn something for it to click in place, but the humiliation and the rejection comes in where this was like seen as, oh my gosh, you are so stupid, you are just so unintelligent. It just takes you a bit of time to catch up. This could even be, right? This could be where you've been made to feel like you're a liar. So, if we actually bring in the third house and tie it in with it being the house associated with neighborhood, associated also with short distance travel and vacations, things like that. Well, let's say for an example here that something happened to you in association with a neighbor. Maybe they hurt you, maybe they made you feel really, really uncomfortable. Or let's say you went on a vacation with your family, you took a short distance trip and something happened there that was a bit traumatic for you. You may then go and communicate that to somebody else and say, hey, like, this happened to me, somebody hurt me. But perhaps, just perhaps, somebody actually turned to you and looked at you really confused and said, oh no, but you're lying. You've no idea what you're talking about. What? The neighbour did that? I don't believe you. Maybe your parents, for example, saw the neighbours as this certain way, you know, through the parents' perception, but yet you, as this younger child or this younger person in general, because this could also, you know, be into your coming up to like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 and so on, right up until your kind of university stage of your life. So if something happened in those years and you go to communicate that with somebody else, maybe they said, you're a liar, you're not telling the truth. And that feeling in itself, having that locked up inside you, that is so humiliating. That's so traumatic. Also, this could have been in correlation with your siblings. You may have grown up in an environment where siblings might have just been really hard on you. They might have bullied you. They might have just been really horrible to you. There could have been a lot of tattletales, you know, you running to your parents and telling on your siblings because they did something, but then when the parents would address your siblings, they would just get off scotch-free, or they basically wouldn't get in trouble for it. Also cousins, okay? Cousins also is under the third house. So you could have been in a certain incident with cousins, or you might have been humiliated by your cousins in front of your siblings, or in front of your siblings to your cousins and vice versa. So these types of things just might have been internalized by you, and you might have thought, oh my goodness, there's something inherently wrong with me. I am such a problem for the people in my life that are supposed to connect with me, supposed to be there for me. I'm just not. You just have this difficulty connecting with people, connecting with your peers, connecting with your classmates, connecting with the information that you learn and trusting in that information. You know, trusting that the information that you process is actually valid. So that in itself can just make you feel like you're choked up or unable to really communicate your own voice. There can just be this difficulty with trusting in your voice. And maybe there's something to be said here about you learning how to really find your voice. On that note, it could be that you have a bit of a broken voice, or it could be that you have a stutter. It could be that you have a learning difficulty overall. But ultimately with this placement, it looks as if you just feel misunderstood. And also, maybe you don't like the thought of being wrong. Another thing to mention with this house is, well, the third house can be connected with transport. So looking at cars, for example, maybe you've been in a car accident before, that could have been a really traumatic experience for you. Or looking at buses, so your commute to and from your school, maybe on the school bus you were bullied by your peers or your classmates, but even on that note of your peers and classmates bullying you, that could have been something that happened. Another thing actually to mention with Chiron in the third house is, well, when it comes to journals, perhaps there was a situation where your journal was picked up and it was used as a way to hurt you or humiliate you. Maybe it was shared around the class amongst your peers, or maybe there were notes passed about you amongst your peers. Even on that note, you could be that person who has maybe been bullied by your classmates or your peers whenever you were younger. But then you see those same classmates or bullies later on in your life, maybe 10 years, 5 years, whatever many years, you see that person or people that picked on you or bullied you, and you just freeze. You freeze. Or you just feel all just so tight, like your chest becomes tight, you know, your lungs. Even looking at lungs and breath, okay? Gemini is the ruler of the third house, and so could be suggested that with this comes difficulty breathing if you've got Chiron on the third house, okay? Ultimately, I just see this placement as crippling thoughts, crippling negative thoughts towards yourself because of how you've been treated by other people in terms of undermining your intelligence, people not really understanding you, you feeling like you're oppressed by your peers, your classmates for how you learned. That could then even result in you just being super quiet. Either that or these things could have made you quite fidgety, quite nervous. Okay, so now we have talked about the wound itself, let's talk about some tips and advice on how to heal. Right, so right off the bat here, if you have Chiron on the third house, and let's say for example, you go on to have a child of your own, you could then be this parent who truly listens. You can ask your child what they think. You can ask your child for their opinion and really try to come from a place of understanding them. Of course, you don't necessarily have to understand them completely, and your views and your opinions are going to be different perhaps to what they see. But the whole point of this is looking to somebody else, whether that be a child or your friend or your sibling, whoever it is, going outside of yourself and trying to connect with somebody else and really opening a line of communication, this open dialogue that is free of judgment, that is free of criticism. Yes, it's good to critique things and it's good to challenge people on their opinions and their beliefs, but so it's better to do that than to instantly just disregard them and say, no, you're wrong. No, I don't agree with you. It's very defensive, and that might have been something that you experienced. So for you then to turn to somebody else and actually come from more of a listening perspective, yes, being able to communicate your point of view, but I think one of the things here that is the most important is the ability to really listen. And I think that by listening, not only are you going to feel more calm within yourself, because by doing that, actually, you're, how do I explain? When you're listening to somebody, you won't feel this need to like, oh, well, I need to respond. I need to say something back. And the words that I have to say back, it needs to be correct. Oh my gosh, what am I going to say back? What am I going to say back? When you listen, you kind of take that away. You don't feel a need to have to say anything. You just nod and you're like, okay. And then you can process that and you can really digest that information. And I think by doing that, you then can also help yourself, because when you look at this child that you have, or your friend, or whoever that is that you're having that discussion with, then they are going to actually feel really seen, really heard. But because you're in control of that, you're the one who is giving them that light in that way. You're the one who's opening the floor and you're the one hearing them out. They're going to feel good, but also from that, you're going to feel good too, possibly. And who knows? By you actually taking the time to listen to others, there might be so much that you can actually learn from others, and those things that you learn from others, you just might benefit a lot from. However, at the same time, I also think with this placement, it is important for you to communicate as well. So trying to maybe confide in someone that you deem as close to you, or this could be speaking with a therapist or someone who is professional, speaking with someone where you get out what you really think, and then that person being able to bounce back and say, right, okay, I hear what you're saying. This is the way I'm understanding it. I can make logical sense of X, Y, and Z. And from them saying that to you, you can then process that, and who knows, you can then understand, oh my gosh, yeah, I can see what you mean. Yeah, I was thinking this, but then you explained it this way, and so now I do feel understood, but you're explaining it in a way that I never thought before. And that can, of course, help you, but you are bouncing that off somebody else. You know, having a soundboard, I think, is important with this placement. Just to have a soundboard, to have somebody not just try to tell you what they think, what their opinions are, but also for them to listen and then to communicate back to you, and then for you to be like, oh my gosh, you actually really did hear me out. You actually really did take the time to properly listen to me, and now from your response, I feel like I'm heard. Another way actually to heal, I think, is a good one, is learning to just plummet yourself and put yourself into a debate. And what I mean by this is joining a certain group that is all about debating. So for example, this could be a certain class within school, this could be a certain group outside of school, or just within your local neighborhood, where it's deliberately made to debate, for debating. Because when you go into a class that is specifically for that I think is going to completely challenge you. It is going to get you using your mind, but not in a way that is critical towards you, that is feeling like you're being put down, or like you're being oppressed, or like there's something wrong with what you think. Instead, you go in and you understand that everybody is there to speak freely, and that's the whole point of debating, you know? You're gonna go in and you just might realize, oh my goodness, yes, finally I'm somewhere where I can actually debate my point of view, and the responses, it's not so much about who's right or wrong. It's more about, this is what I think, this is what they think. And it doesn't have to be the same, and it doesn't have to be an argument or a dispute over who thinks what. It's literally just, yeah, I'm a person, I come with my opinion, they're a person, they come with their opinion. But even on that note, who knows? You could also change your opinion because of someone else debating their point. And yeah, I just think getting yourself into that position of debating with people, yes, it might be really uncomfortable, really, to take that plunge, to move into that environment. But when you're there, oh my gosh, you just might really grow in your mindset, in your intelligence, and how you communicate. Your communication skills may just really grow. Also, public speaking. And I know if you have Chiron in the third house, you may think like public speaking is just, no, I am not public speaking, this is too difficult. Seriously, if you can maybe try and maybe get a close friend, be like, hey, so I've been learning this subject, this topic, and I was wondering if you can maybe just sit and listen to what I have to say, and we'll practice. Maybe they'll agree with you. So you can use that person as a way to also help yourself then. And then who knows, maybe a few more people, a couple more people, and then next thing you're speaking in front of so many people. And that speaking in front of so many people could even be connected with teaching them about something that you actually had difficulty with when you were younger, you know? Also, I think another good way to help with the healing process would be actually by working with people who actually have learning disabilities. So working alongside those people or volunteering with those people, or by actually being a teacher in some way in the future, where you can put yourself into that teacher position, or to be a counselor, or possibly to be a therapist. And the last tip that I'm going to provide here is in connection with siblings. So whilst I said that yes, there could have been humiliation or rejection associated with siblings, well, this could even be that there were siblings you grew up with who were hurt or really going through a hard time. They were experiencing a lot of difficulty themselves. So what you can maybe do in that instance, of course it depends on the actual relationship that you have with your siblings, because I do understand that everybody's situation is different, but there is a potentiality here of you connecting with your siblings, or maybe doing something with your siblings, you know, maybe taking short trips with them, or going on vacation with them, or trying to get closer with them in a way that maybe you didn't have when you were younger. Maybe this could have been a situation where there was just some years where you weren't able to really connect with your siblings. But then as you get older, you realize that actually that was when we were younger. That was in those years. We're both more mature now. Maybe I can connect again with my brother or my sister, and we can do something now in later years, and who knows what relationship could come from that experience. Okay then, Cosmic Warriors, so that concludes my video on Chiron in the 3rd house, as we address both the wound as well as some tips and practical advice on how to heal. Thank you so much for watching, thank you for subscribing, and of course if you would like to see more videos from myself, then go right ahead and click that subscribe button if you have not done so already, and I will be back with another video very, very soon. Bye!